All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic start to the AM here. Sorry for a slightly delayed start here this morning. But yeah, hopefully everyone's feeling sharp, feeling refreshed, recharged. Honestly, yesterday was like kind of just a mentally exhausting trading day, right? It was such a grind in the trades that we were in, and it was just exhausting. I like honestly finished the trading day probably more stressed than I started. Generally not a great sign, or at least not a not one that I generally look forward to. Or there just like wasn't. I mean, trading in general can be a little bit stressful, but usually after like most trading days, you can kind of like walk away feeling a little bit a like proud of how you traded, but there's like a feeling of like accomplishment of okay, like I saw the market and I beat it, right? Type feeling. Um, Yesterday I didn't quite get that. Like I didn't get the mental satisfaction of a job well done type thing. And yeah, kind of an annoying session, right? Yeah. So important to not bring that baggage right into today's trading day. There's no reason yeah, to hold on to that, right? Really important, regardless of how yesterday went for you. If it was a green day, if it was a red day, if it was a no trade day, if it was I'm too hungover to function, whatever, right? The important thing is you choose if you want to bring that baggage into your next trading day. And I think it's important to, yeah, acknowledge that, yeah, yesterday wasn't as fun of a day as I normally like to enjoy in the market. It's a more stressful trading day, but it's my job now to cut that off there and start afresh. So if you had a challenging day, you had a great day, don't bring that fear into today's trading session, and don't bring that ego, right? And that like, oh, I can't lose mentality into today either. None of those things actually make you a better trader. Instead, I think that there's always something that we can take, we can learn, we can study, or like improve by really just like going back and really focusing on our trades. And I think for me yesterday, right, the big element is really focusing on entry timing. So pretty much all the trades that I was in were effectively a bit of a grind. And then making sure that I'm closing my trades as my P&L is increasing, and not flirting right with those green to red type trades, right? Where you're up a lot and then down a lot, or up a good smidge and then down a good smidge. We want to avoid, I think, those sensations. Those ultimately, in my opinion, at least for myself, exaggerate that like stressed out, anxious, like, oh man, I actually don't like this game as much as I think I do type feeling, right? And I think that it's a little bit of like a trap, or like a trick that we can play on ourselves sometimes. I think in the moment, right? To like remove some of our passion, or our enthusiasm, and once that disappears, you start to like skip steps, right? Or you start to get discouraged more easily, or you ignore your risk management, or you basically just stop taking that one thing, right, that you want to learn and focus on and improve. And so I would really challenge everyone, right, to each day finish each session. Okay, here's something that I want to focus on for tomorrow. Here's something I learned. And then make their next trading day all about that. Here's what I learned thing, right? And here's what I improved. And the more that we can obsess over those things instead of obsessing over P&L, then we're going to find a lot more success in our trading. So today, right, I've got, I think, two focuses. One, I want to get better entry timing. So just being a little bit more specific not feeling like the rush of getting into my entries, and just waiting right for that ultimate discount. That's really a huge priority. The, the point, I guess, of working on getting a little bit better entry timing is I should hopefully either be green right away or red right away. Those trades where I spend an hour kind of in no man's land, or like an hour just fighting for 5 points at a time, those are days where I finish the trade exhausted. It's almost like philosophically, my approach is I want the easiest trade of the day. When I then end up taking like the hardest trade of the day, I'm doing the opposite, right? Of effectively of what I want to accomplish on a daily basis here as a trader. So those are the like the first principles, right, of avoiding long drawn out trades is getting better entries, right, or getting an entry that effectively moves right away, and then just managing my almost like internal uh clock, and sort of like when that dialogue starts to trigger, right? I think that in every trade there's a point where you go from having kind of like a strong internal dialogue to being kind of like a calm and rational trader, to then having to start to like fight your demons a little bit, right? And that could be like anxiety coming in, that could be fear coming in, right? That your win's going to turn into a loss. It could be, I don't know, it could even be like just not trusting your thesis anymore and kind of losing that like rational brain. And I think just like really trying to hone in on like where that switch happens, right? Of where or what the trigger is, right? That goes from being rational to obnoxious. I think that that's something worth sort of investigating as well, right? So two things that I really want to focus on here today, really emphasize kind of like process based elements, and hopefully go from there. I think for saw a lot of comments here today just about like position sizing and things along those lines. If you guys are having any position sizing issues, or something you guys want to talk about there, please let me know. We can kind of do a bit of a discussion on that topic here at some point. But in the short term, let's start mapping things out here. Let's figure out what we want to do. A little bit of a longer rant than usual, but nothing too crazy from an economic calendar perspective here today. Should be okay. So let's start mapping things out. What's the count here on ES? Let's start there. Yeah, it's I'd say probably a week, 2 out of 3 to the downside without volume. Sorry, with volume. And we're kind of opening up in the implied middle, right, of yesterday's range. So maybe a little bit of a larger expectation there of this being consolidation. Our pre-market highs here are 63.20, right? It's like 63.18. Yesterday's high of day approximately. So 63.20 continues to be a reasonable first target for us. And then to the downside here, you're looking at 62.50. And then go from there. I also, just looking back at my notes here a little bit, I don't think I saw, again, my first 2 trades of the day. I'm not sure if I really got like the bullish failure or like the bearish failure of the day. I think that happened a little bit later on in the session. So again, if I'm kind of looking back to maybe like how I traded a little bit, I think that yesterday was like a bit of a cobweb day, all things considered. And even though that the PNL was green, I think there are some things there that I don't know. Like I'm kind of finishing like a little bit frustrated, or finished the day a little bit frustrated with, or just like was frustrated with how stressed I was at the end of the day. And I want to avoid that sensation as much as possible, really. All right. NQ, obviously, very similar. Yeah, maybe. I think the frustrating thing about yesterday wasn't necessarily the trading price action. It was the unpredictable violence of like a Trump tariff tweet, which we were on the kind of like painful end of, and just like maybe the extra stress and anxiety of feeling like the shoe's about to drop, but you don't know when. I think that probably was a big element that contributed to that, like, uh, yeah, I think general like market angst that we felt yesterday. So I am willing to have a little bit of flexibility here in both directions today. I like, as much as I want to only be bullish or only be bearish, the candles there yesterday not particularly strong enough for me to be like, okay, this is actually trending price action. So there's enough reason to like slow down there and not get too carried away on the index level. It could ultimately be like kind of like a capitulation day, like we saw there, or like we saw there, or kind of like even we saw in this range. So the historical evidence that we have in the last little bit is this kind of still continues to be a little bit of like a dip buy support zone instead of it being like a really aggressive reversal spot. So no need to like front run the bearish breakdown here necessarily. Obviously would be happy to play a reversal or a downside move, but I still think that it's reasonable enough to have some expectation that you could get some follow through in both directions. Okay. We're still kind of like fighting at this spot a little bit. So again, right, maintaining a bit of that flexibility. 68.50 would be the starting point here to the upside, and then to the downside, you're looking at like 67 as a starting point. Oh, I might keep doing M's. All right. Apple. That's 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. Tesla 3 for 3 here to the upside on the Dave Portnoy buying. Microsoft inside bar. Amazon 2 out of 3 to the upside with volume. Not great volume, right, by any means, but still there. Doji decreasing volume, gap up, so 2 out of 3 without vol. I can call this like a weak 2 out of 3. Okay, AMD. I mean, red candle, red increasing volume, gap down, I guess, technically. Meta. Netflix. 3 for 3 to the downside. Kind of maybe looks a little bit like a bear flag here, or maybe even like a bit of a wedge. Netflix 3 for 3 here to the downside. And then the old Vixaruni 17.13. So implied daily move here of about I don't know, 1% ish, right? Give or take a little bit more than 1%. So let's see how the day shapes up. Let's see how it comes together. We missed the first 3 min candle of the day. Oh no. But yeah, let's see how the day shapes up. Not a terrible. No, I take that back. Pretty small range. 29 points on NQ, just under 6 points there on ES. Not the tremendous amount to be super aggressive over. I mean, I think the frustrating thing yesterday, Mark, about that reversal was that it happened like 8 points away from the final profit target. I was like, you could start to taste total victory, and then you got that like iron taste in your mouth after. So yeah, that was a frustrating trade. It was a teaser. How's everyone feeling this morning? I'm kind of straight to business here today. Love it, Mike. Okay, so far so slow. Oh yeah, those ghost orders, Jonathan, they can be so frustrating. Honestly, yeah, props need to do a little bit better in being able to cancel those, right? Like hanging phantom orders. Not blindly, right, Mike? We're gonna wait until we get a high volume break and hold through the opening range. So right now we're breaking out, but we're not breaking out on any increasing volume. So no real reason here to be super interested in a position. Same thing on CL. It's breaking out up and over, but we don't have any confirmation here to give us an active trade. All we have here is setups, but they're setups that fail from a confirmation perspective. Guys, if the stream is full on Discord, you can just go watch the YouTube link, right? So you have two options to go watch the stream on a daily basis. There's no difference to either option. So if the stream is quote unquote full, go watch the stream on YouTube. You'll be able to see the stream there. You'll be able to see the screen there. You'll be able to ask questions. Right? You have two options to go watch the stream. It's the same product in both options. Yeah, exactly, Nick. Spot on. Nothing particularly interesting yet. I'll probably say this maybe every 10 days. But if you guys want to do a Zoom call instead of over YouTube, or you want an alternative streaming platform instead of Discord, let me know and we will find something that accommodates. But I think that this current setup works pretty well. So with volume means that yesterday was increasing volume, right? So we've got volume supporting our thesis, right? Or we've got volume supporting the general trend. So this is referencing yesterday's volume standard. Right? It's based on our pre-market conditions or our pre-market checklist. I want to shift here. So if you go into the strategy documents from inside the Discord, it's a breakdown of the 5 types of pre-market conditions. So the 2 versions of strong trending price action are 3 for 3, right? And then a 2 out of 3 with volume. The non super strong trending condition is a 2 out of 3 without volume. And then the non trending conditions are 1 for 3s and inside bars. So it is just my interpretation of this document that you can see on my screen. And it's just an indication of what specific pre-market condition it is. You can find that document inside the trading docs there inside the Discord. And I would highly recommend starting to become familiar with the pre-market conditions. So far, so slow. Love it, Nautilus. Congratulations. Great start to the day. Yeah, pretty slow start here this AM. Pretty slow. Almost like I actually have nothing to talk about, which is rare. Again, not a great looking candle here. Maybe a little bit better on ES, but not nearly enough volume. And again, I'm not super confident that that's like a super aggressive bearish failure. Maybe a little bit of an easier argument to make on NQ because it at least kind of like faked out through the psychological level. But I don't think that the violence around that reaction has been enough to say that it's like one side losing. Oh. Is it going to be kind of like the opposite of what we saw last week? Last week we saw ES lagging NQ. Now we're kind of seeing NQ lagging ES. I wonder if that ends up being a pattern to continue to consider. So probably not going to be enough volume here on those 3 min time frame, right? It's a good breakout. It's increasing volume, but it's not outlier. So all that means here is I can pass on that burden of confirmation to the 5 min. If I can get that 5 min volume to give me something interesting, I would be down. CL would need to hold above 67.80, I think, on that type of volume profile. I don't think that it's enough there at the moment. Kind of feels like maybe ES here on the 5 is it's the most interesting yet. I think that's probably the best way of phrasing it. Eh, no entry here yet. We're still waiting for confirmation, Mike. Right? We need to see it break, close, and hold above the opening range on increasing outlier volume and a strong candle shape. Don't have any of those criteria here yet, right? Okay, now we've got increasing outlier volume. Doesn't look like it's going to close above the opening range, and certainly doesn't look like a strong candle shape. So 1 for 3, no confirmation, not even close to being an entry here. Well, I don't know if there's anything necessarily um to react for here yet, right? We're lagging effectively in the middle inside of yesterday's ranges, right? So to say that it's lagging inside consolidation is like a little bit of an oxymoron. If markets were in breakout conditions and we were pumping above yesterday's highs or yesterday's lows, and ES was giving me a tremendous amount of separation and NQ wasn't, then right, maybe I could take something from that information. But it just having a different look while it's consolidating inside yesterday's range, I don't know if that's enough for me to take anything from. I think looking at the daily time frame here kind of gives us the context, right? That the 5 min or the shorter time frames are kind of like hiding a little bit. Like as is, right? If we're taking based on the information that we've seen here so far today, we probably haven't seen anything that indicates like a massive trend day here early. And it's all just because our open price here today was basically in the middle, right, of yesterday's daily range, give or take. So if that's the case, right, or you're opening up in the middle of a big range, your base expectation is chop or consolidation until proven otherwise. So maybe I could have been a little bit more specific about that on my plan this morning. Yeah, so far so slow here. okay from NQ, but it's hard for me to want to do a dip buy scenario right inside consolidation. If it was a dip buy inside support, a little bit of an easier trade. Dip buy in the middle of yesterday's range, it's a little bit less appealing, right? So again, still being very cautious here. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Need him to sneeze it. Jeez, man, everything is so slow so far. I mean, I would love that if that's the case, but who knows? What's the time here? Just about 10 a.m. Okay, well, let's look at NQ here. I mean, that's definitely a good looking move. And he can't pull back too much more here. Okay, so stop loss for now appears to be 897.75. Entry reference price would be 881.25. We'd like to see a breakdown under the blue line and then a gentle retest back towards it. Maybe seems a little bit unlikely now. And then you're risking 16 points a contract here, right? So that would mean 16 times 20 is your risk, right? Which is about 320 bucks, right? Which would be a one contract trade. Remember, team, right? It's your job before you ever place a trade, right? Be it you're waiting for my entry, be it you're waiting for your own entry. If you take a trade and you do not know exactly how many dollars you are risking, you are not setting yourself up for success, right? So if I say that I'm getting $320 worth of risk at this blue line, and then I jump in at 876, we'll say, right? That extra 5 points actually makes a big difference. So we need to make sure that both your entry price and your stop loss location are working to satisfy your max loss number. And you figure out where your entry zone is, where you're still trading within that area. Chasing an entry, but setting the same stop loss as me, right? Could mean that you actually shouldn't be taking that trade. Could mean that it's outside of your max loss number and that should be a trade that you avoid taking. So what I'm trying to do here with all my entries is I'm waiting for a breakdown here under this blue line. And then I'm looking to click submit to go short once I see price go above that area. So I know that my risk is set for this level, right? Or this price. And any price that I get that's better than that blue line is the equivalent of getting a discount on my trade, right? So blue line is a good entry. The best entry, right, is a pullback above the blue line. In this circumstance, right, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. We're potentially getting a little bit of a reversal scenario here. But that's the logic, right? So that reference price that I put down, not there just to look pretty. There because that's where I'm looking to size my risk at and where I'm looking to try to get a better entry than. So setting the same stop loss as me, but getting an entry 10 points worse and the same amount of contracts actually means that you maybe have 3 times as much risk as I do, right? So we have to be understanding that equation or that calculation for ourselves individually. And I need you all to be extremely selfish about your position sizing and to understand where your trade is, right? It is the most important element. Yes, I always use limit orders, guys. I never use market orders to open my positions. Market orders create uncertainty, and I don't want that. Not on my entry, right? If I don't know within a reasonable expectation of the price I'm going to get a fill at, I'm setting myself up for a lot of damage, right? So again, if I'm using a market order and I think I'm clicking at 881.25, there's a good chance I actually get a fill at 877.75, right? So I want to be specific because if I'm not specific, then I screw up my risk calculation again. Okay, maybe ES on the 3-min. 264 would have to be the target. Not enough volume there on NQ. Main problem with this is how much space there is here. Yeah, his main issue with this, right, is just getting the risk reward to be able to justify that small move. Can't really pull it off with that type of candle shape. I would need a pullback that's a little bit disproportionate. Yeah, I can't comment on that, Rico. I have no idea. I'm at too much of an information deficit to be able to give you a reasonable answer there. Like there's just too many variables that could be impacting your fill price. So yeah, it could be a trade evade issue. It could be a time of which you place the trade issue. It could be whatever your order entry price was. I simply I can't give you any information. Well, so far at least a nice slow start. Not lost anybody. Yeah. Yeah, still nothing here of interest. Not a strong enough candle shape, right? Couldn't close and hold under previous low of day. The NQ, right? Not enough volume. Same thing, kind of a pathetic close. I normally don't consider myself a very judgmental person, but the language that I use to describe the market is very, very judgmental. Well, for me, it should just look like it. Truth be honest, like with you, Nick, right? Yeah, it should because yeah, it closing half a tick under, fine. The counter I would have to that then, right, is that it's not good enough as a confirmation candle, right? Kind of looks more like a least bearish than a normal or most. In this situation, I'm gonna say not a strong enough close, which kind of like it hits both of those, I would argue, right? So okay, if it's one tick under, fine, but that probably still would fail for me on a confirmation standard. So effectively, I would say it's the same thing, but in general, when I'm saying I want it to close under low or close under high, it's almost like it's like the old school definition of like pornography, like you know it when you see it, which I know kind of sounds like a terrible a caveat, but it should just look obviously like it held under or obviously like it held above. If I have to like squint my eyes and strain my brain to try to figure it out, it's probably too difficult. And I think the general, at least for today specifically here today, like a huge part of my focus is just not getting stuck in something, right? So it needs to be a trade that is so obvious that I have no choice but to trade it. If it is um like if it's playing hard to get, I I don't want anything to do with that today. Yeah, a little bit of enthusiasm there on CL. Same problem we had earlier with that ES there to the downside. Hard for us to now get the risk reward here up to the upside. So if this thing pulls back even a smidge, that's going to be a little bit challenging. Maybe on some of the longer time frames, we could develop a bit of that space to be able to justify that move. But here, I don't think. On a breakout, I mean, if we can get a high volume break, close, and hold above 68, that would be fine by me. 68, 10, 68, be willing to call that the same number effectively or the same zone. Maybe on the 3-min here could be. Probably again, like at least this would be arguably the most honest bearish failure probably so far. Kind of an oxymoron, but and I know that this shouldn't be something because when I back test my strategy, right, I'm not like back testing for geopolitical environments or like what's going on in the world. Like I'm just back testing pure price action, right? So I shouldn't have this fear necessarily. But there's a little voice in my head that kind of sounds like Donald Trump in Home Alone 2. And it's reminding me that he thinks that prices at these levels are too high and that they fall into Iran's hands. That scares me a little bit, especially if yesterday I already had a little bit of some tariff madness, you know, giving me new wrinkle lines on my face. Um, that is going to be a little bit intimidating to work through. I say that out loud now because I know that if I do potentially get a setup, that's going to be the thought bouncing around in my head. So not a good enough candle there on the 3. So A, right, I want to make sure that the setup is absolutely perfect if I'm going to trade it, right? So that I can kind of calm down some of those quote unquote anxieties, right? Or like external factors that are going to creep up to the forefront here. But then just also buy myself some time, right? Focus on my posture, focus on my breathing. I don't need to like make this decision super strained. This should still feel easy if it comes together. And so acknowledging the thing that's uh giving me stress maybe about the setup, right? Is my way of being able to counter it. One of my favorite quotes of all time is actually from Jeff Bezos, pre Lauren Sanchez, Jeff Bezos. So I don't know if he still has the same philosophical view or if his Latino plastic mixed girlfriend is changed his perspective. But he had a quote where it's like, stress is the result of basically not taking action on something that you had control over. So by acknowledging my call it like bias that will give me maybe a little bit of extra anxiety, I can now take control over that feeling, right? And then make a plan over how I'm going to mitigate it or how I'm going to manage it if it becomes an issue. Again, it's like it's putting the ego aside and it's really just focusing on why, right? I want to take this trade and really then focusing on those elements. So again, I would probably say that that fails from a confirmation standard as a candle shape, maybe a little bit better. The 10 min probably looks best, but I would need now the pullback technique to justify the entry. Pullback technique would be awesome here. It'd be a very logical spot. I don't know if it's going to pull back there now, though, right? Like probabilities wise, maybe not the most likely of outcomes. To play the aggressive entry technique, I just don't have the space here, right? I would ideally like my entry to be the high of my confirmation candle, not really below, because I'd like to see that act as support. So pretty much has to be a pullback technique here on that time frame. And in this circumstance, right, it's still logical enough to target the 2R range. So just going to continue to be very patient here. Nothing has looked like perfect, I think is the right way. Yeah, so far, so chill. Again, I think we had a good read there. Would have been definitely a little bit of a fake out. So we're possibly watching here, right? If we can get like 12 cents of pullback, it'd be great, right? Reference price would be 85. Hey, nice work. Congratulations. Oh, thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. No, I would not be interested in this without the increasing volume. I thought for whatever reason it was there. Appreciate that. Thank you. Clearly, I'm thinking too much about Lauren Sanchez, not enough about the volume profiles. Well, I would call that a strong enough candle for sure. Probably feels a little bit maybe like this move has already happened though to the upside, or like it's kind of giving you that fake out here now. That scares me a little bit. Probably the other element that scares me a little bit is that 68 is not holding as support. But I do think that this was a strong enough candle. Had this held above 68, I think Mikey, we're having some champagne cocktails here right now. Okay, back to watching the indexes here. NQ, 5 minute. Instant lower low, so we know we have to use the aggressive entry technique, right? Which would be stop loss low of entry candle. We'd be targeting 807. For now, stop loss would be 866. Reference price here would be 858. Again, guys, please calculate your risk right before you take this trade. So 22,866. Okay, so watching here closely. I'm looking at two contracts here personally. A little bit too fast on that pullback. Okay, okay reaction. Kind of feels like that blue line is acting like support, not resistance here, just a little bit. Okay, I got a pretty good read here. Maybe I could do the pullback technique. 881. If I get around there, right, 870-ish, that could be 2 contracts again. I know it's I mean it was 4th of July, not Christmas. All right, so watching here closely, team. And just waiting a second. It's moving just a little bit too fast. Okay, good reaction. $280, 288 set as my stop loss. Okay, inside bar here setting up. So I'm just going to wait it out 10 seconds. Still no entry. This almost feels like it might set up as a little fake out and dump. Huh. Okay, there it is. So there's that little possible fake out again. Good decision. All right. The 5 men looking like a reversal now. Huh. Kind of maybe deja vu to yesterday, right? So 871 would have to be the stop loss. You'd be looking at 1 contract. Maybe a little bit late looking at the reversal scenario. Whoops. Huh. Maybe we can get increasing outlier volume here on NQ as well. Ideally, probably get up over 900 and hold it, right, if we can. Because then we can use kind of like this area as support, right, which would be fantastic. Like we want that to hold as support pretty much, right? The high of that breakdown area. That would be great. Oh, excuse me. I'm very sore. Something like that. So immediately, right, we know we're looking for the aggressive. Yeah, did a good workout yesterday. Honestly, still recovering a little bit from my ride on Sunday. That was my longest one yet, so a little bit tired from that, but that's okay. All right, let's focus on this instead. Who cares? So we're looking at 22,905 for now. And this could be decent sizing here, you know, looking at maybe 3 or 4 contracts. So far, not the right reaction here yet, so I'm being patient again. Kind of been my theme of the day here a little bit. Okay, now we're looking for a pullback here. Come on. I might have missed it trying to get my 3 contracts. Fuck. I just, for the briefest of seconds, risk of $460, and I didn't quite pull the trigger. That was at like 913-ish. Nice work. Yeah, I could try this again on the 5. It's not really a big deal. Okay, so now you're looking at a 920 stop loss. Okay, a little bit lower. 918.75. Let's go 918. Come on, give me a gentle pullback here. Too sketchy. Okay, now it would be 916. Okay, we're back in business here, team. Okay, I am in 923, 3 contracts, 923, stop loss 916. In long, 923. Not the best entry. Ah, fuck me. Okay, so far so good though, team. Yeah, just jumped in, guys. Just jumped in. $923 entry price. And so far so good, right? So far so good. Come on, hold 930 here. Come on. There it goes. Fantastic. Get through 940 now. And so far, so good here, team. So far, so good. Come on, get back to 40. We don't really want it to stall around high of day, right? That would probably be the most nervous reaction to price action. If it's going to go red to green, usually the move through green is pretty violent. Let's keep watching here. Kind of a nervy close. Okay, candle. 2 out of 3 elements. Ooh. Okay, come on. Breakout through high of day here. Come on. Push, baby. So, I mean, this should be pretty close to where we see the violence show up, right? If it doesn't show up here, that's a real bad sign. Come on. Make or break here, NQ. It's the most annoying reaction. Didn't quite fake out above high a day. Not quite the reaction I'm super enthusiastic about. Hmm. It's a pain in the butt pullback. Hey guys, I am out of this trade. I am out of this trade. 923.50. I hate that pullback. It makes me feel like shit. Kind of the exact worst reaction we wanted to that breakout. So let's see if this thing wants to set back up. But that was a crappy reaction. I'm disappointed by that. It's a frustrating outcome, actually. And Jamie did well. Did well. Nice work, Nautilus. Yeah, it was kind of bullshit. It would have probably stopped us out too. I tried to give it just enough space to run. Maybe too much. That's frustrating. All right. Part of the game. So we can try this again here potentially. Oh. Thing is, I felt like I should have closed like 932, 933. I just didn't quite find the courage for another 10 points. That kind of makes me feel a little bit dumb. Honestly, again, maybe even like on that fake out higher. Once it's like down to 936 again, that should be the get out point. Okay, could I maybe do the dip buy here? Low vol pullback, find support, middle of the range. Really tight risk potentially. 915. That's too fast. Well, there's the Trump tariff tweet. Motherfuckers. Oh, that makes sense. All the illegal immigrants just trading the stock market. Unbelievable. Well, better than what the feeling we had yesterday, at least, right? Holy caramba. Oh, that doesn't shake out everybody. I don't know what does. It's also 2 days in a row here where we've gotten really close to like kind of our mega point of interest, and then price action just pukes. We were so close to breaking out, making new highs. And then it's just a 60-point dump. Absolutely wacky market. Well, at least it was the right decision to close, but it was the wrong price. All that for nothing, pretty much, right? Half a tick made $30. So, guys, ramen on me. Everyone gets a cup of noodle today. Yeah, no solid confirmation for us. A bad candle shape here so far. There's kind of a kind of a little bit of a part of me that thinks that this is still a dip buying spot. I don't know if that's just my irrational brain. By nature, I am still a smooth brain ape. Hey, CL, maybe we could target towards 68.50. There are some compromises here, though. Main thing, right, is that it's kind of wicky around previous high of day or current high of day. Maybe a little bit concerning. Lower low, lower high, inside bar. Possible breakout. Oh, very. Trading view frozen? What's going on? Why is this moving so slowly? Again, like this is kind of where I feel the dip buy spot is. It's a crazy thesis. I can't seem to shake it. Or like I'm not convinced by that selling pressure. All of a sudden I'm yawning like crazy too. Goodness. It's all the signs of professionalism here. And I mean, this is why you don't trust your impulses. Same thing here on the old CL. It did give us the reason to walk away. Very interesting. Every now and then, the market is such a puzzle. Very puzzle-like behavior. Okay, so now we've made a new low. We want it to crack and hold under. Otherwise, again, right, this maybe is like the capitulation scenario. Hasn't not been fast enough maybe for capitulation. See, 10 points, 20 seconds. Oh, 14, 15 points. It's a reasonable close. Again, I can't help but think that this is a dip by spot. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of uh it was a little bit of a crazy thesis. There was a legit one. It looks and screams capitulation, guys. Stop would have to be at low here, 841. Oh. The thing that I'm fighting with a little bit here internally is this is a setup that I feel is high probability based on the market conditions. I don't know if this is necessarily a legitimate, not my edge. This just feels like uh right way of describing it. Opportunistic, maybe. this. That's a bit more akin to my edge. Zoom in very often. Seven or 865 would have to be the stop loss. 5. Probably too late now. Fuck. See, I was so convinced that like 844, 850-ish. Oh, so convinced. And on that 2 min, it's really sharp. Problem is, I think I now have bearish capitulation. Looking at 892 stop loss. Spicy. And now it would be a little bit lower. Now it would be like 890-ish. 888. 886. Keep going down forever. 884. Oh man, this is interesting one. Ah, let's find the courage here. Oh. All right, still watching. Very, very interesting. Again, maybe I can play this here on the 2. All I'm trying to do here now, guys, is find an entry to justify my thesis. So 902.50 would be the stop now. Call it 902. Just keep the math simple. And I'm looking for an entry here. 3 contracts. Wait, too fast. Reference price would have been high of confirmation candle, so 909. So now it would be 22,900 as the stop. Reference price high of confirmation, so blue line. Oh, it's not behaving the way I want. Can't really have it pull back too much further here. 12 points of risk would be 2 contracts. And now reference price would be green line. So 905.25. Higher high, higher low, so it doesn't kill me here. Maybe I can get a better entry. Give me, what, 6 points of risk? Kind of watching this reaction around 900. I wanted to act as support. It's kind of acting like nothing's there so far. Much, much better. That was a big bounce. All right. So I am in, guys. 901.50, 901.50. Three contracts. Perfect. All right. Okay, much, much better reaction there. Much, much better. I'm gonna be pretty aggressive, guys, in how I close this, right? We've seen pretty fuck you quick reversals. Let's see if it's got the legs here. Breakout, baby. Here we go. Push, 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 push. $11, $9, $12. Keep going. Keep going. Kind of feels a little bit like it might be stalling. I think I got to look for an exit here. P&L as it's increasing. S'il vous plaît. Come on. Come on. Give me one last pop here. Okay, watch. This is going to be my chance to close, guys. Give me my chance to close. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. You're so close. Push, 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 push. Come on, push. Yeah, I'm trying to find an exit. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, guys, I am out. I am all out. 909.50 exit price. 909.50 exit price. And again, if this thing sets back up, we'll try again. But it kind of stalling there a little bit makes me nervous, right? So I'd rather take the 495 bucks, right, than torture myself here. I was trying to get an exit price around the previous candle's high, like 915-ish was like what I was like cheering for, or what I was delivering a baby for. But yeah, again, a very muted reaction here so far. Again, the entry was down here. Look, I'll take the win for sure, but it should have been I think it should have been earlier on that trade. Like I caught the last chunk of the move, not the part I needed. How's everyone feeling? Everyone green? So maybe I should have waited, but it's fine. We can still play this possible consolidation breakout here. Love it, BMO, man. Nice work. Good job, team. Beautiful. No, it isn't making it easy. It feels like it is easier than yesterday, though. Yesterday was exhausting. Hey, 93 bucks. I'll take it. In your journal, Patrick, it'd be worth noting down maybe why you felt like a rush during that order execution period where you like, I don't know, didn't see that you were on the wrong account. Like that would be the thing to think about here a little bit here today. How can I make my order of operations smooth so it's always the right one? Not really, Doug. I'm more interested in the fake out scenarios, so more in the failure underneath the opening range than consolidation in it. Beautiful, Patrick. Well done. All right, I feel better about myself now. Maybe it's like bull flagging a little bit. The second I said that out loud, it's the first thought to my head was like, that's bullshit. Kind of why I laughed. Like maybe, yeah, maybe not bull flagging the way that I expected. It's 11:13, green on the day. I don't know if I need to do anything else. Considering it's a very range-bound market. What do you guys think? Excuse me. Yeah, I think so. Let's go, Jamie. Nice work. How'd you feel about your stop losses today? Did they make a little bit more sense? Good, good. Hey, Mikey, nice work. 450 trading micros. You're pretty much doing the same as me trading minis. What'd you close at? Any reason why you didn't feel like you wanted to close? I mean, yeah, awesome to be green. That's fantastic. I felt 924, maybe 914. You mean maybe? But yeah, I feel like a little bit left. I feel like I left a little bit of money on the table there on that first trade because that was up, 1.5 R to finishing up $30. That was pretty disappointing. Second trade, I felt better out. Yeah, maybe could have gotten an extra 5-6 points out of it, but that's a pretty hard expectation to hold yourself to. Yeah, Jerry. So there's other comments as well, or another chat inside the Discord. So if you want to view those or ask questions there, you're more than welcome to do it via the live trading tab. Yeah, really, Ghost, all I'm really looking for, right, is once I establish my like point of interest, or I call it like my reference price sometimes. So once I establish that, so let's just say that hypothetically I'm looking at, I don't know, let's go this trade, right? And I establish my reference price. So, okay, we'll say this is my confirmation and I establish my reference price to be here. I'm basically watching how price action behaves as it pulls back into that area. The picture that I have in my mind is like, am I seeing an elevator down or am I seeing stairs down and elevator up? So what gave me confidence about my entry there is when we would see pullbacks into 900, the pullbacks would happen kind of like they were like gritting their teeth, or they were like running out of enthusiasm, however you want to describe it. Like it felt like it was taking the stairs towards that price as if it was starting to get exhausted. And then when we made those little moves under, or a couple points under, it went from like 897 to 903 to 904 to then slowly back down to 901, whatever it was, right? So the moves that were happening higher were happening faster than the moves lower. And I was just using that reference price as my view of it. Hey, well done. And definitely could have would have liked to have seen you close a little bit higher, but hey, green is green. It's kind of like a stepping stone. So reference price here is, the way I determine that is twofold. So if it's the aggressive entry technique, then it'll be the high of my confirmation candle, right? So if it's the aggressive technique, then it'd be the high of my confirmation. If it's the pullback technique, um, then honestly, like it's a little bit like it's just based on what the chart is telling me. So like in this example here, like the reason I chose this 895 here as my reference price is that I saw price action start and stop at that price twice. So it's like it's just, I don't know, just stands out. I'm trying to give you a better answer here because when I'm thinking about it, and I'm like going through that process, I'm literally just like looking at the chart, and it's the first point of interest that I think is interesting. Like I don't think that the way that I'm picking my entry price is necessarily it's not super scientific. It's kind of more like art. It's more the art than science side of trading, if that makes sense. So it's literally I'm just looking at the chart. Okay, here's where I think uh would be like a good reaction. And I'm sorry, that's not a very good answer, but that's really all it is. Like I'm not putting too much thought into it. It's here's the point where I think I should start be interested in an entry, or here's like where it visually looks like it might be a good discount. But I know that's not a great answer. But really, that's all it is. It's just maybe it's like just the consistent repetition of trading the strategy where you I don't know, maybe like intuitively start to figure it out. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a better answer. So it's like oftentimes you're looking at a chart, or at least for me, I'll be looking at a chart and a number will pop into my head. It's almost like I don't I almost don't care where that number comes from, and I'm too scared to investigate to figure out how it gets how it populates in there. So I know, yeah, sorry, not a very good answer, but it just kind of feels like it comes to me. That makes sense. So like I think the more important thing here is I'm like the reference price gives me a reason to refine my focus more than it gives me like an absolute instruction, right? So I'm just trying to determine a spot where yeah, like where I need to be, yeah, really engaged. I think, or like really focused on price action. I think I'm probably one of my flaws as a trading educator is that when I do get to that moment, like in those like hyper focused situations, I probably get a little bit quiet. It's almost like I'm like consciously trying to shut up the voice in my head just to focus on price action and ignore everything else. So I'll try to do a little bit better of a job vocalizing that. Maybe like talking through it out loud more often will help me visualize that pattern so I could give you a better answer. But yeah, it's not very often I get to waffle about something without really giving any specifics. So sorry about that. Maybe we could get a short here, by the way, guys. Maybe. I don't know how much I want to keep flirting with the 2 minute. So there's a couple places that you can access it, Jared. Um, the basic strategy documents, right, are um like in the Start Here channel, right? So video is number 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So pretty much everything but video 4 is kind of like a high level overview over my trading strategy. If you want more detail than that, right, then probably the channel to look at would be the How to Trade with DTR. So this talks about the setups we trade, the confirmation standards, how to pick stop loss locations, how to size your trades, and then how I time my entries. So that would then give you sort of the beefed up variant of some of that information. But really, the strategy discussion is kind of like a living document inside the stream, right? So, I'm trying to do my best to hopefully discuss and play out the strategy on a daily basis. If for whatever reason, right, something is unfamiliar or it doesn't make sense, or you're not sure what the setup trigger is, the point of the live stream is for you to be able to answer those questions and to get that information so you can kind of put two and two together in real time. So kind of the way that the program is designed is you get that like base level of context and information with the documents and with all the various videos inside the Discord. Then you reinforce those concepts by paper trading them and hopefully then passing your eval trading those ideas, and then you refine your improvement and you refine your technique by jumping into one-on-one calls or by asking questions here inside the stream. So I think that the really the ultimate way to build up your strategy knowledge and kind of like your context, it would be to kind of participate in all three of those learning avenues or learning environments with as much enthusiasm as you can. Okay, so I'm only gonna journal, guys, the recap journal of the maybe the second trade. Any other questions here, team? How's everyone feeling? Everyone okay? Good, Doug. Yeah, hey, green is green. More valuable to turn like green days turn into green weeks turn into green months turn into FUs to your boss, right? So there's more value in compounding a small green day than uh anything else, right? So no complaints. Probably a little bit too much risk. Let's go, Vinny. Congratulations. Nice, Doug. Yeah, we definitely made the right call getting out of that trade. That's for sure. What price, Mike? So we have one short. Just be careful, guys. We've seen price action basically stall here at these lows now 4 times, 5 times. So just be a little bit careful there, please. Actually, not a great trade here today. All things considered, I'm saying it's not a great trade because my risk was too much. My risk here was $600, should have been 500, and then my return on risk, right, was like 80%. So not a great one here today. Let's go. Almost 2K. Sonia, send me that trade. I'd love to take a look at it here when you have some time. Stephanie, how'd you lose money today? How'd that happen? Both of our trades, right, were very nicely in the green. So did you just choose to not close those positions? Kind of messy here. Okay, so pretty busy chart here, but I don't know what I was thinking about. Okay, any other questions here, team? Let's take a look here. Look, I think all things considered, we've had a very one candle up, one candle down type market, right? So I probably wouldn't want to mess around with all this chop still. You know, if we look at it from a daily perspective, all these drawings, we're very much still just inside consolidation here, Eric. So if you're not green by now, I wouldn't press it. I would come back fresh and recharge tomorrow. I don't, Dawn. Really, all capitulation is just high vol fake outs, right? So it's like when you make a lower low, that low doesn't hold, and it's like a lower low or a higher high relative to high of day, right, or some key level, and it happens on bigger volume than when you expect, right? So it's like candles where the volume and the shape don't make a lot of sense. Those kind of end up being capitulation bars. What does what mean? So it's just a visual, right? Market miner. So elevators are quick, stairs are slow, right? So if I'm saying that bulls are strong, right, that means that bulls are quick, right? They're moving price action aggressively with a lot of enthusiasm. If bulls are weak, right, then they're like fighting to get to each new level, and it's like the next step might be their last. So if you were to walk up 100 flights of stairs, right, you'd be out of breath. Whereas if you were to take the elevator, right, you'd still have a lot of momentum. Yeah, honestly, Ajay, I don't care. I'm done for the day. It could be breaking out, but it's breaking out in a time of day that's not super sustainable. and not super interested in taking any other risks here. So it's just a way of being able to visualize, right, how price action is moving. And so the elevator is easier, right? I want to take the elevator up, not the stairs up. Not a massive day by any means, but I'll take it. Oh fuck. Two out of three without. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, almost tore my shoulder out there. Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, no complaints. Been stacking up really well. It's been compounding really well. But um look, it's easy to say this now, right? After 24 consecutive green days or whatever it is. But it's like honestly, the less pressure and the less emphasis I put on myself to make money, and instead I put more emphasis and pressure on myself to trade well, the easier it is, right? To a certain extent. And kind of at the start of this 24-day run, there were a lot of days where I was like maybe 7 or 8 days in a row where I was just like pulling my hair out, flirting with disaster to get there. Um, so as good as the 24 days of green have been, I would say it's probably like 12 to 15 days of like good, reasonable trading habits. And then kind of the rest of like got, I don't say lucky, but the math of my technique worked for me, right? Like my risk reward stuff was working in my favor. My position sizing was working in my favor. Being able to pyramid into stuff was working in my favor. And that was bailing out a lot of mistakes. The second half of this kind of period has been a much calmer trading session with less mistakes. And so a much more sustainable period. And so it's the emphasis there, right, on trading well instead of trading profitably has made it much easier to sustain that than to like not succumb to those like bad, impulsive but entertaining habits. All right, team. Any other questions here? Any other questions? We're pretty deep into overtime. Yeah, have a great day, Bergs. Congratulations. Well done. Yeah, sounds good, Eric. Have yourself a great day, man. All right, team. I'm going to go final call for questions here. Final call for questions. All right, team, final call here. Final call. Beautiful, Sonia. I'll take a look here at some point this afternoon. Just bear with me. Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, give me some time here, guys. I will take a look. All right, team. Final call here. Final call. Yeah, no, I'll be fine. All right, guys. Have yourselves a great day, and catch up with a few of you here in our one-on-one starting in a couple minutes. Otherwise, everyone else, chat to you tomorrow. Let's keep it up, right? Again, I want to stress, focus on getting better, not getting rich. You get rich when you get better, right? So trading is the ultimate game of self-improvement, right? It is gamified self-improvement more than anything else, but it is also super easy to fall for the chase of the PNL than it is to fall for the sustainable long-term growth and improvement. So push towards that. That would be what I would love to see from everyone here. And if you do that, I'm very confident you'll accomplish the PNL targets you have in mind. So in the meantime, guys, have yourselves a fantastic rest of the day. Okay trading here today, all things considered. And yeah, hopefully we get a market that's not temperamental starting tomorrow. So have yourselves a great day, team, and I'll talk to you then.